Welcome to Inside Design. I am Owen McGubbins here for Right Aligned, and today I'm here with Hollie Fraser. Welcome, Hollie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You are very, very welcome. So would you like to just introduce yourself to the listeners, the viewers, in your own words?
Yeah, I am Hollie Fraser. I'm a creative director on the art direction side. So I've been working in advertising agencies for about 16 years now. I started out in London and then in 2015 I moved to New York. So I've split my time literally 50-50 between London and New York. And I'm currently a freelance creative director. I've been freelance for the last 4 years. And in that time have set up and founded We Are Shelance, which is a global collective of female freelance talent, pretty much, I want to say across the world, but mainly Europe and the US at the minute.
Amazing. Um, so tell us a bit about Shilance. Like, what is it you're doing? What's the mission? And how are you helping people?
So I'll maybe take a step back on how and why I started it. So, I mean, as anyone knows who's freelance, it can be a pretty lonely, pretty lonely career choice sometimes,
For sure.
especially when you're in those moments when you don't have a gig and you're like doing loads of outreach and you've really not got that kind of support network around you. So I decided to start it, A, to create a community, but also I was still obviously noticing like the huge discrepancy between men and women in the creative department. And a lot of the time was partnered up with men, or I've only ever had male bosses. And so I really wanted to like start to like give more visibility to women. And what I was doing when I was busy, when I was getting gigs, and I couldn't take on something else, I was trying to always make sure to recommend like another woman who kind of basically was another version of me, like a creative director or something that could take that job.
Yeah.
And through doing that, got old colleagues and friends gigs and placements. But I didn't have like this massive pool of freelancers who I knew, who I could ask, like, hey, are you free? Someone's reached out, I can't take it. So I thought about it for a long time, like literally the first 2 years of freelancing was like, I should start something. And so yeah, last year I started We Are Shelance with the aim to create a community for women to ask for support and questions. So we have a Slack and a WhatsApp. And then on top of that, create kind of an open talent inventory of all of this female freelance creatives across the globe. So there's no excuse. Like there is a place to go look for female talent if people are looking for it. Because what I
Mm.
was hearing from, I had an interview and this ECD said to me, he couldn't find any female creative directors, and there were so few. And I was like, I can send you a bunch. And
Yeah.
so that really was the catalyst where I was like, if I can make something where people simply can't say I can't find them because this is where you can find them, then that will at least help solve that. So yeah, that's how it started, and it's kind of grown from there.
I think that's absolutely amazing. I heard similar things with so my friend and I used to go to Primavera every summer, and we were there when they did the new normal, which was a 50-50 gender split of artists. And they interviewed in Glasgow, they have a thing called Transmit, and they interviewed the guy that runs it. And we're like, oh, so other people are doing this, other festivals are doing this kind of thing. Why not you? And he's like, oh no, there's not enough female artists out there. Oh, it's going to take us like 5 or 6 years till we get to the point where we can do this kind of thing. And it's just like, dude, you have the internet. Like if you don't want to look, if you don't want to know, you'll never know. And it seems like he just didn't care. So I love that you've actually gone that extra step and gone, well, here's the directory. Like go on you go and find the people.
Exactly. Yeah, no more excuses.
Yeah, yeah. And how has it been going then? Are you seeing people connect with it in the way that you want to, both on the freelance side and on the agency side?
Yeah, it really has taken on a life of zone, like in an amazing way. It's definitely got to the point where now I'm like, ooh, how do I figure I'm doing everything for free. Like I don't charge anyone to be part of the community. It's a free community. I have shared jobs, I have got people jobs, I've got people permanent roles as well as freelance roles.
Amazing.
So I got asked by a friend in an agency, like he was looking for a female African American art director because it was to work on a Black History Month campaign
Mhm.
in the US, and placed someone, and I believe they're now full time there. So like I'm really proud of like being able to connect women with jobs, and other women who for roles I couldn't take have stepped in and like got new contracts, so that's amazing.
Mm.
And then outside of the jobs, like, you know, people are asking for advice, whether it's tax advice. I don't lots of rate chat, because
Of
in this
course.
market, like I think a lot of people are being pushed down like on their rates,
Mhm.
and it's really hard to stay strong as a freelancer. And I think it's really hard to know like what would someone else do in this position. And yeah, I would say like weekly people are asking kind of similar questions about how to like charge something out or what to do when people put down your rate. And so far it's a really amazing, positive, supportive community,
Mm.
and that's the way I want to keep it.
Yeah, of course. Just as you were saying there, the people that are going off to bigger and better things, it reminded me of like alumni calls you get, where the university calls up people that used to go to university and go, "Hey, you're doing quite well. Do you want to maybe just donate a little bit?" Um, but yeah, I find a lot the same with the freelancers that I talk to. It's a lot of same the questions that come up like over and over again, and a lot of it seems to be people just want to feel supported. They want to feel that they're allowed to have the confidence to just to act confidently, but not just stabbing in the dark.
Yeah, totally. And I find as well, it's really good for me. Like what I've set up for myself is like, these are people I knew before, but like I have like these monthly, just like virtual coffee catch-ups with other women who are like freelance, and men,
Mm.
but outside of freelance, like I make sure personally, like I just sit down and chat to people with just no motive, just to be like, how is it going? And we do it monthly. And it's really nice when you're not busy to like vent about something or
Yeah.
be a bit upset, or like have like a support network there that you don't have when you go freelance. You don't have anyone, you don't have that office gossip or like someone to like turn to when you're feeling a bit down.
Mm. And it can totally leave you feeling a bit isolated, that you need
Yeah.
to do it all on your own, and that asking for help is a bad thing, especially when you see the celebrity freelance other people that seem to be doing really well all the time. They're just like, oh, it just happens for them. Why is it not happening for me? Yeah,
Right.
it's a wonderful thing to have, and amazing that you've set it up and it's going so well. So when we spoke before, you said that one of the reasons that you came into freelance was becoming a parent. So how are you able to manage life doing both of those things together?
Yeah, the reason I went freelance was because I had a 15-month-old son, and I quit my full-time job because I just wanted to see if I could create, and I had no idea if it was possible, but something a little bit more flexible.
Mm.
Um, and it's definitely worked. It is a process to get there, because I think it is a process working on yourself to empower yourself to set up boundaries for yourself around what you can and can't do. And admittedly, like a lot of the work I do is with people I've worked with before. So, you know, they know I'm going to deliver what they need. They don't care where or when I do it. But it's allowed me to, yeah, work with really nice, amazing people, and be able to pick my kid up at 3 o'clock and, you know, take 2 hours off and then log back on in the evening for 2 hours. Like, I don't necessarily work a 9 to 5. I say I don't necessarily. I absolutely do not work a 9 to 5.
Mm.
Um, I'm in the UK at the minute, and all of my clients are in the US. So it works out amazingly for me because I can do real good thinking and ideas in the morning, and then take the meetings whenever people need me. Um, And so I can really like optimize my day to work for me. And I don't go to an office. I have had gigs where I have had to go to the office, but I've kept it to about 1 day a week. And so far, I feel very lucky. Like people, yeah, seem to allow me to do what I want as long as the work is good. And yeah, I feel very lucky that I've been able to go from full time to freelance and really make it work around my family.
Hmm. And have you found, so one of the challenges I think a lot of people come across is setting those boundaries because it's just them and they don't necessarily value their own time, or they don't, they see, oh, I need to give and give and give. So has having a family allowed you to be a lot stronger and be like, no, this is the boundary, I'm not going to cross it?
Yeah, I was thinking about that just the other day, um, because I'm trying to make this action point for this panel that I'm doing in the summer.
Ooh, you're
And
going to depend
I
on the
really
summer.
want, we'll say where, I really want this like actionable takeaway, right? And the
Yeah.
panel is about being a parent in advertising and how we can shape the industry to be kinder. But I was thinking more about like how that affects other people in the industry. And what we really need is like, this universal takeaway that empowers everybody, like a junior, a midweight, child-free people to feel okay to set boundaries, right? And
Mm.
I think, you know, maybe you're not busy and you're like, my mental health needs me to go do yoga or go to the gym at 4 p.m. Like you don't have to sit at your desk. You are allowed to step away. And I think a lot of people are scared to do that. And I think going back to the industry after maternity leave when you're a new parent, you feel like you kind of start on the back foot anyway, because you know you're going to have to like fit this parenting around your life.
Mhm.
And I think if leadership and managers gave parents the permission to ask, to set boundaries, we would be more comfortable doing it. But most of the time, that's not going to happen. So, like I always say, you have to set boundaries up front because otherwise, I think when you go in with, hey, I need to leave at 3, or I need to leave at 4, or I need to leave at 5, people just expect that is your norm, and there are reasons you are doing that. You're not doing that to be awkward, you're doing that because you need to do it.
Mhm.
And people respect that. Whereas if your boundaries are unclear and people don't really understand, nobody knows how to navigate them. um so I always make sure like I try and be as transparent as possible, and maybe I overshare. And you don't have to overshare, but I will always communicate clearly what I need, and like, oh, I can't do that because of XYZ, or oh, I work like this. And I think that goes for everyone, like, like the ways of working as well. Not everyone, you know, wants to be given feedback verbally on a call. Like, I want it written out and I want to know exactly what I've got to do, for
Mm.
example. I don't necessarily mind these days how I receive feedback, but like I think like setting your boundaries in different ways, it doesn't have to be like what time you leave work. Um, but I think that really helps everyone, like parents or not, get more out of their like employees and work better and work more productively, have a happier, healthier lifestyle and all of that nice stuff.
Yeah, it's totally like it's like a shift away from the 1950s standard of you have to, this is how the company works and you have to fit this, more
Hmm.
human-centered. Um,
Hmm.
because yeah, especially as we know as creative people, we don't all work the same. We don't all are all the most creative in the same like kind of zones or same kind of time periods. Um, so yeah, I think that's absolutely excellent.
Yeah, and I feel like creativity doesn't, like every creative knows, like I don't like, my brain never turns off, kind of like if I'm on a brief, like I'm always thinking about it, whether
Yeah,
it's in the shower or walking down the street. Like there's not like, oh, I've done my spreadsheet for the day and I've signed off. Like that it never ends. Everything is blurred
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So it's hard to define when we are and are not working.
Yeah, exactly that. Um, and it is those weird moments where it comes to where it's like totally inappropriate, but it's nice that your brain's actually doing that work in the background. But even when with setting your boundaries, have you found that there's times that people just don't respect them?
Yes, definitely. And I'm I wouldn't say I'm the strongest at pushing back on that. I definitely could be better. I have to say, and everyone needs like their support person, like their cheerleader. My husband is the best at that. And I'm always using him as a sounding board for what I should and shouldn't do. And he's really good at being like, it's okay. And like he says things like, where he's got this from, some coach probably, you are not your availability. So he always reminds me of that. Like you don't have to be available 24 hours a day to do the job well and for
Yeah.
them to think you're good at your job. So I remind myself of that a lot. But I'm not necessarily the strongest at pushing back when it's really like forced upon me.
I think that little thing that you said there about you don't have to be there all the time to show them that you're good at your job. I
Mhm.
I definitely see this in myself. It's like part of the times that I have like not to my boundaries well, and it has been about no, I need to do this for them so they value me and they continue to hire me,
Right.
forgetting that it's your work that you deliver, and it's not often every time you push. Most of the times, 99% of the times that you push back, they just go, yeah, okay, because they're
Right.
human.
And
They're human
it's
too, right?
hard, right? As a freelancer, especially when you are relying on being rebooked and like working with clients over and over again, it's really hard to know sometimes where like what you should and shouldn't bend to.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think it blends into there's times where clients don't respond and it messes them over and over. And I get that. Sometimes this happens and I get to the point I don't want to message them anymore. And my wife's like, no, that's literally your job. Like that person's, if they're busy, they've asked you to do this thing, but they still want it done. So maybe you just need to keep messaging them until they respond. And don't be pushy, don't be bitchy, just like do the thing because that's just your job. And don't get in your own head about it. It's like you're allowed to do these things because it's just part of what we have to do to be creative folk and have this freelance life.
I feel it's so interesting. I work with so many different people and I've found like you have to be so adaptable.
Mm,
I remember working with this company once and they briefed me and said, we'll send you some follow-up stuff. And they specifically said when they wanted to review the work. And I had that project and another project and they knew that, but they never got back to me between briefing and the review. And I was like, do they still want me to even work on this? I'm not even sure. But
yeah.
anyway, I did it. We had the review and everything was great. But I was like, wow, I didn't realize that I was going to be given so much autonomy to just be like, there'd be no word between the briefing and the review. And
Yeah.
they didn't follow up on the emails I sent, but they showed up and they expected me to have done the work. And I was like, whoa, I don't know how many people would have done this work. I don't know if this was right or wrong or
Mm.
yeah, it was an interesting one.
I hate when that happens. Yeah, I have that with a client that's happening at the minute, and they've done exactly that. And it's just like I don't know what to do. I don't want to just do something just in case they hate it. I don't want to invest myself into this. And then they were like, I came back today actually this morning. Oh, it's great. Thanks. I'm like, awesome. There's the invoice. Cheers.
Yes, as long as that contract's signed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So as you hinted upon, you are going to a panel in the summer. Where is it you're going? Tell us about it.
So I am going to Cannes. I've never been to the Cannes Lion Festival before. And I'm obviously a freelancer and a mother. And I think as a freelancer and a parent, like the accessibility of Cannes becomes like minuscule. Like
Hmm.
you don't have a company paying for you to go. You don't really have childcare for a whole week. And so like it's not something that seems accessible for parents. And I had this idea I wanted to go. Well, so firstly, my husband, who's also freelance, he has got a pass to Cannes, and one of his clients is paying for him to go.
Hmm.
And so I was like, that's fascinating. Maybe I'll hijack that and I'll come with the kids. So I wanted to go with the two kids and write an article about kind of how we can make the industry a kinder place for parents, and how, you know, being there with kids, demonstrating the struggles of parents in people's faces, and really talking about that in a space that's so you know, put on a pedestal like can could be quite disruptive. So I had this idea. I spoke to a couple of people, and through speaking to these two people, they ended up connecting me with Rupa Dash, who is the CEO of the World Woman Foundation. And so they are at Cannes for the first time, and they're holding a series of talks and panels. And so she offered me to host a talk for freelance and for parents in the industry, to talk about being a parent and a creator in the industry, and how, you know, we could change it, experiences, all of those wonderful things, and really just continuing the conversation in the hopes that we can, yeah, make a more friendly industry for parents. And so that's what I'm doing in Cannes. So now I'm trying to think of this, yeah, this tangible takeaway that could be shared, could be implemented at agencies. It could be a pledge, it could be a policy. So I've got a month to figure that out.
It sounds like it's going to be a very interesting month.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. I had a conversation with a recruiter recently who I'm going to be talking to again for Right Aligned. And we were talking about the industry and how it's actually not set up for people at all. And how the thing that needs to change is the people who are running the agencies or running the companies that are hiring the agencies need to chill the fuck out and stop like needing more and more and more. And all of that would then drip down into having just a much more human-centered approach to agency and creative life. And then we wouldn't have to be so struggling to set our boundaries and do that kind of thing.
Right. And I find it so interesting. Like I have finally put the panels together now. So in the last 2 weeks, I've interviewed loads of mothers who are going to be on the panel, and so many interesting topics came up. And I was thinking about how we, you know, COVID put us in a situation where parents had to show how they were working and parenting like no other. Like kids were at home, like, and it gave people that level of empathy to really see it in front of their face. And I think when leadership has empathy and understands, that has a nice trickle down effect, and employees feel empowered to, like we're saying, set boundaries. But I think it's so sad to me that we saw the struggle in a very, very real way, which is not most parents' day to day because kids go to school. But then we regressed, like we went back, we saw it and we regressed, and now we're trying to get people to fit back into this office policy, which works for some, but it's apparent it doesn't work for all. And I have no answer, but I just don't know how we need to continue to why we continue to do that. Like there has to be a way to make it more flexible, not just for parents, like I was saying, but for everyone, so everyone can have a better work-life balance.
Yeah, I think part of it, so the kind of work that you're doing with freelance, I think is an excellent step. One of the it's the next part is when, because if you teach people in the right way and you help them see what the world in a certain way, then that's obviously the first step, and that's excellent. But it's then when that becomes a challenge for them. So you know what I mean? So when they're in a position of power, or they're in a position to live this truth, and it's something's pushing against it, they have to resist that pushing against, resist just like going with the flow and just being like, all right, okay, I guess we'll just work in this way because this is how things are done. And that, I think, is the struggle, because you can do things like freelance and help people and change the way that they approach, or show them a different way that they can approach life. But it's as soon as it becomes a difficulty, that's when it seems to people just like they do the regression that you're talking about.
Right. When everybody is asking for everyone to be in office and you're the leader of an agency that's not following suit, it's hard. I do,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm not in that position, so
no.
have no idea how hard that is.
But we can support people at the next step. There has to be a way to support people at that next step. That's what I'm saying. Because if you can do it at the start, the way that you're already doing it, then there has to be a way to get to help people do things the right way. Because there's lots of agencies that do it right. There's lots of agencies that are right person centered. Lots that aren't, but there must be plenty that are as well.
Right. And I think it's hard to like reimagine the whole industry if you're one person in an agency, but there has to be a more fluid mentality to kind of physical workspace. Like what that is, I don't know, but what I have found as a freelancer, and I'm talking from my own perspective, is like the barriers to working at some of the biggest agencies in London are, can you come to the office? And my answer is, no, I cannot.
Mhm.
So I don't even try to approach UK agencies. I only work with US agencies because it's, for me personally, and the people I work with, maybe it's because they know me, there's just no expectation that freelancers are in the office. Now, I think it's slightly different because with the US, it's such a huge market and you
Mhm.
can get talent from New York, Austin, Denver, LA. I'm basically naming all of the people I work with on these different time zones. So it doesn't, it's not in the favor of the agency to be like, I can only work with New York talent, because then you close off the rest of the country, right?
Mhm.
Whereas for some reason in the UK, London is such this central hub. They don't see the other areas of the UK as being all this amazing potential talent. So like as a freelancer, if you're not in London, you're cut off from it.
Yeah, yeah.
And in my experience, like I have had one London gig and like I just sit in the corner of the office and nobody speaks to me because I'm a freelancer. And like the truth is, as a freelancer, you're not necessarily adding to the culture of the agency. You are temporary, um, and you're in and you're out. Maybe they're 2 months, maybe they're three, maybe they're like 2 days.
Mm.
So requiring in office as a freelancer to me just doesn't make sense. But then I understand it has a knock-on impact on full-timers. It's tough. Like then you're looking at full-timers and expecting them to be there.
Mm.
But as a freelancer, it's kind of disappointing that we've gone back so far and we require this in-office presence because yeah, it just doesn't help. It doesn't help people who can't afford to be in these locations. Like it doesn't help a lot of people who need, I don't know, caregivers, disabled creatives, all of those people who are marginalized and
Totally.
need kind of the same opportunities. It's a shame, and I've got no answers, just musings.
We don't have to answer it all right now. Thank you so much for the conversation that we've had so far. It's been excellent. So just to finish it off, tell us, how do you stay happy in your work?
Oh wow. Do you know what? It's a really lame answer, but Sheelance makes me really happy, I have to say. Um, I I had it down here. So I got this who I call a friend now. I got this friend I've never met. Met her through Sheelance, Keena, do a call out, and she sent me a beautiful little bracelet that's engraved with "We Are Sheelance." Um, and because I got her a gig and it was the sweetest thing ever. I'm gonna cry thinking about it.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see that. That's nice.
and other than that, I just yeah, I I do stuff that I enjoy as well as doing work. I This is another tangent, but I started Books on the Underground and I did that for 12 years and it's kind of come to a natural end now, but I always try to put my yeah, my ideas to good use and like do something I'm passionate about.
Books on the Underground is in the thing where it's like take a book, leave a book. That was
That's
you.
me. Emma Watson did it for us, so everyone thinks it's Emma Watson, but yeah.
Damn! I wish we had more time. You can come
I
back.
just opened a can of worms, didn't I?
You did. You can come back after Cannes and you can tell us all about it and tell us all about that
Yeah,
and tell
definitely.
us about this. That would be absolutely wonderful. So where can people find out more about you and more about Sheelance?
You can find out more about Sheelance at www.wearesheelance.com and you can just find me on LinkedIn, Hollie Fraser. My DMs are always open.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been fantastic. And we would be excited to have you back on to tell us more about all the stuff.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And to everybody that's watched, everyone that's listened, thank you so much, and we will catch you on the next one. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, if you found it useful, like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the YouTube stuff. If you want more from Right Aligned, on our website you can find studio workshops, design courses, and inspirational stories. We're also now doing in-person events with Process. You can find out all about that on Eventbrite. And of course, you can follow us on LinkedIn and on Instagram /Right Aligned Academy. See you on the next one.